Hello my fellow YouTubers. I am about to give you a brief summary of part of my book, Revelation, Judge This. That's me at the Continental Congress 2009. And in my book I outline a conspiracy against me between my daughter's mother, Ashley and Meek and Kristen Place. During the conception of my daughter, Ashley and her family played games surrounding the pregnancy, including Ashley's father leading me to believe that my daughter was aborted. During this time, I was contacted by Kristen around July 2002 in a Vermont chat room on AOL, and we talked for a while until I left with Fair. While I was with the Fair, though, she emailed me 10 to 20 times saying that she missed talking to me, wanted to know when I was going to be back, and that she wanted to meet me when I returned. She claimed that she was 17 at the beginning of November, and I met her a day or so after her birthday, but she lied to me about her age. Even if someone lies about his or her age in Vermont, even if the act is consensual, even if the person had had sex before, it is still a crime and sounds worse than what it actually is. Kristen had been with 3 guys and 2 girls before me, and she certainly wasn't a virgin. I attempted suicide on December 20th, 2002, wasn't expected to live, and was charged with arson after I survived. I did 19 months as a detainer until I was finally released on bail and conditions of release after lots of fighting with the district court going against a Vermont Supreme Court ruling. I did lots of AA meetings and counseling upon my release, and I was also enrolled in college. I felt better about myself than I ever had since being hit by a car in 1986. I took a plea deal that did not guarantee me probation, but at sentencing on July 13, 2005, after a lot of testimony from professionals, including a psychosexual evaluation that said I am not a predator nor a pedophile, and my heartfelt statement, I was given probation and allowed to continue with the treatment program I had established myself. On December 2nd, 2005, it was brought to my attention that Kristen was in the same local bingo hall, the American Legion, that I was at with an elder friend. As soon as it was brought to my attention, I removed myself and called my mother for a ride. I had my very first meeting with my probation officer, Suzanne Dubuque, in the middle of December when she called me. At the first meeting, she informed me that Kristen had filed a report alleging that I gave her the finger on the way out, and I later learned that both she and her father, Christopher Place, alleged that I was driving. Suzanne told me not to return to the Legion, and I told her that I wouldn't, that I would just continue going to the Grange on Tuesday nights, which is where I was going when I was hit by a car in 1986. She asked me if I had ever seen Kristen there. I told her I had never seen Kristen there. On December 27, 2005, without my awareness of their presence, Kristen and her then boyfriend, David Ballard Jr., planted themselves at the Grange. Also without my awareness, they went to the manager and tried getting me kicked out, but the manager told them that I was a regular and she had never seen them before, until after I told Suzanne. On December 28, 2005, Kristen and David filed reports alleging that I touched her in the chest. I was called into probation on December 29, 2005 and bombarded with questions that I could not answer. I was emergency arrested for a violation of probation and immediately bailed. If what Kristen and David alleged was true, then I should have also been charged with an L&L or something along those lines. They didn't charge me with that. The system didn't charge me with that because they didn't want me to get a jury trial, whereas with a VOP, I couldn't get a jury trial, just a judge. I told the manager of the Grange about what had happened, and she told me what had transpired on December 27, 2005. I was supposed to have court on January 30, 2006, but the judge knew my father and recused himself. Outside the courthouse, Suzanne asked me if I was still going to the Grange, and I told her that I was, but that I was making sure that Kristen and David weren't in there before I entered. Neither David nor Kristen had returned to the Grange between December 27, 2005 and January 30, 2006. The next day, Tuesday, January 31, 2006, I went to the Grange and made sure that they weren't in there before I entered. I was approached by the manager, and she told me that her sister thought she saw somebody who looked like David come in, ask how much 9 cards were, look around, and leave without reserving a seat. Why would he need to ask how much 9 cards were when they had just bought and returned 9 cards on December 27, 2005? Within a couple minutes of my entering the Grange, they attempted to enter and caused a big scene at the door when stopped by the manager. On February 1st, 2006, I self-reported this to Suzanne during our regularly scheduled meeting, and she wrote a distorted affidavit about it. She told me not to return to the Grange, and I didn't, but neither did Kristen or David. The only 2 times they went to the Grange were after I told Suzanne where I was going and what I was doing to avoid Kristen. To be continued.